He could have been dead and the plot would have stayed the same.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Burr and this is Fluffy. Let's talk a little bit about this Blue Period anime.
Blue Period, which is a Netflix anime.
Hopefully there's a season 2, but knowing Netflix, who knows?
Who knows? It's just one season right now, and it focuses on a boy who changes his path to basically go through art school. So Yatara is the main character, and he is really, really good at school.
Oh, he hops on the rail? Oh, yeah!
People don't know
was like
is
seriously offended by what people was saying about
yeah.
him.
When people were just like, well, you're smart, you're gonna get into any school, he was just like,
what?
His mommy was like,
his mom,
I feel happy that you draw this, but let's be real, you need to go to school so that we can have money. And he
she was
like,
just like,
no.
how are you gonna support yourself?
Yeah, and his daddy was just like MIA in true anime dad form.
He had no lines
Not
until
one
the very
word.
end. He could have been dead and the plot would have stayed the same. But then Ryuji notices that Yatara paints something, and he just thinks of Shibuya, like where they live.
Yeah.
But he only paints it one color, blue, because that's how Shibuya feels like when they walk to school in the mornings.
I remember this. Yes.
So he wanted to express that feeling through his art. And it actually was spurred on by something Ryuji says to him, basically saying like, oh, you really just put on a show for your friends. And
he was
like
dead hurt. I remember this. He was like,
yeah,
no.
He gets really emotional about a lot of stuff. He's a very emotional person, but his friends look at his painting and say like, oh, this is what you were trying to say about Shibuya. Like now it makes sense through how you portrayed it in his art. And then Yatara just starts crying. He's just like so emotional over the fact that what he was trying to portray in his in his art was actually understood by his friends or the people inside the classroom. And so Ryuji sees that Yatara is actually getting really into art and invites him to the art club. That's where he sees Mori's art, which is Angel Girl, as coined by Nikita.
And he
sees Mori's art. There's some things he doesn't understand about it, like why one of the angels is a certain color or why it's, why is it so
I remember
big.
this one was green, right? And the ability for it to, I think he called it like capture you or sink you into the painting.
Wait.
Sink. And so Mori comes in and he tells Mori, you're so talented, just by seeing her piece. And she goes, well, thank you, but I actually worked really hard to get to this point.
That's right. Slapping him with the very same comment that he is yelling at people for.
Yeah. And so that's when he joins the art club. He actually joins, and Ryuji is like, oh, wow, you joined. I really feel like this anime does a good job of showing all the different aspects of who an artist is and their goals and how it can turn out. As someone who went through art school themselves, and Nikita as well is learning art now.
It's rough, y'all. We can't even lie.
It's a rough journey.
Like you can see things that's wrong and then not necessarily know what wrong. And all of that I felt was perfectly portrayed inside this anime. And then when you know more things inside of art, it makes doing it so much harder and longer.
I really enjoyed that they added that in there because Yatara, his first painting, which is the painting about Shibuya, came so naturally to him. But once he starts going to cram school and going to art club, he's starting to realize that like his technique is off, and it starts to just take so much longer for him to just put something on the paper.
Do it! Just do it!
This anime definitely had a lot of scenes where it was like, oh, this is too real.
Yeah.
This is too real. Because that's the journey a lot of artists go through, especially if you pursue the path of going to art school. Because you're constantly going to be pitted against other people, other artists. And some of the artists could have more experience than you just because they're richer. They've been able to get classes more. Some of the artists are just very talented in general.
And I didn't recognize the competition that goes into like art school, like the cutthroatness.
Yeah.
This could be a very potentially toxic environment.
Yeah, it's very toxic. Especially if you have a professor that is okay with that toxicity. I think a lot of professors feel like it brings out people's creativeness and stuff like that. But sometimes it can really cripple someone who wants to pursue art. I've seen a lot of people who go through art school who started with me in the beginning of art school and were not there at the end. And they had fine art.
And I think that was excellently portrayed with Kuana. I felt that her story kind of showed how toxic and how bad it is, or how bad it can be when you're constantly comparing your art and have this like unachievable like standard that you set for yourself. And then even to the point where there were other characters inside of the anime. We didn't know them as much. They were more background, but they were like passing out because they wasn't eaten. And they was having lack of sleep. And then we even see the main character kind of go through migraines. Seeing what the artist was going through helped me appreciate a little bit more, like, Jesus, like they be starving themselves to make this drawing for me to look at. Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the comparison of all the different characters. All the characters seem very purposeful in that aspect. They're trying to show the different situations that artists go through, especially with Yatara, Kuwana, and then Yatsuke. Yatsuke is one of the characters where he's just very talented. He's very egotistical about it, but then he's also very insecure. And it's weird for the main characters to see that because he's like, how are you so insecure? Like, your art is amazing.
Yeah.
But then other times he's very egotistical, like, yes, I know I'm amazing. So he's an interesting character. Yeah. And then Kuwana comes from a family where they're all artists. So there's so much pressure on her. Yatara, there's no pressure
at all.
He doesn't have anyone to compare him to until he goes to cram school. And that's where he starts to get insecure about his art. One of the lines that I love the most in this anime, well, actually, it's kind of like a call out, is one of the characters, Hashira. He was my least favorite just because he is good at art. He's very confident, but he doesn't try as hard, and he still gets into a really good art school.
Oh, that's the chill guy with the harem of girls.
A bunch of girls. They never explain that scene. No. There's a scene at the end with Hashira, and he has 3 girls who are just like
on and over him, like on his leg. Like, I remember that. I was like, what?
And then they just go away from that scene and just
that's all.
Never go back. So Hashira is very much so like he's into art, but he gets into an art school and then he goes and takes this exam with the main characters, which is a really hard exam to get into another school just because he wants to. So there's that character.
Other people like fighting grit and teeth, crying, and he just, doing that casually. Just make you want to slap him. But anyway.
He's very much that character, but he does have a line that I really love. Hashira says, like, you work so hard at art. The main character takes on more work because he feels like if he does more work, then that way his worth is better. That's what happens to a lot of artists. It's like, oh God, I need to like do more.
But I also feel like that's kind of a mixed message though, because when people say, oh, to get better at art, you need to
practice.
And then wasn't he like practicing?
You definitely need to practice art, but you don't need to kill yourself over it.
Characters, they were okay to me. I did like the snooty genius though.
Yeah, they definitely try to introduce different aspects of the art world or like art students, and it can get muddled to the point where you don't really remember too many characters except for maybe the main character and another. For me, when I started art school, I was kind of like Yatara, but not quite as bad. I knew art, but I didn't know it in a technical sense. So once I got teachers that were able to teach me the technical aspects of it well, because you need a really good teacher. You can't just be...
Shout out, Paul.
Shout out, Paul. Once I was able to have teachers to teach me that, I started to improve at a really, really fast rate. And it's because that's all you're doing. I thought animation was fine. They definitely had some... I thought they'd be more experimental with this anime. There was one scene where he like takes a paintbrush across the screen which is apparently a famous scene from the manga where it's
Mhm.
just like he strikes it. And then a lot of times when they show his process, the paintbrush would like be on fire or like sparking.
I kind of agree with you. I felt that they would do more things kind of like Fooly Cooly with the different styles of
Mhm.
animation to emphasize certain points, but they didn't do none of that. And I think that's where it was a letdown.
Yeah, I can see that. I think they were trying to take the more serious approach.
Hmm.
The animation is normal. It's just like any
Yeah,
normal
very
anime.
standard. They tried though. I remember it was this one water scene where they had gone by the beach. And all of us is like, why that water look so weird? Like, what's going on? I think because they were so traditional all the way throughout, that sprinkling that differentness at that one scene made it seem like out of place.
No, that scene is interesting. They all of a sudden put this scene with really realistic water, and it just kind of brings you out of the scene. You're just like, what
You're
is
like,
this?
whoa.
Like, I know it's supposed to be a serious moment, but animation was fine. It wasn't anything special to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you are interested in art or art school, I think this is a really nice anime. It's probably not going to make you feel better about applying to art school because it's very brutally honest in that aspect. It's not fun. I thought it was entertaining. I think it was slow in some aspects, but it had interesting bits to it that kept me interested in watching it.
I thought it was entertaining, not that it was interesting. I come from the lens of slice of life is but why I thought this was interesting, I started looking up the word composition and what that means because I learned a little bit from it. I would call it edutainment for me.
I think it's interesting that they took a character that was good at a lot of stuff in school and then changed his path. Yeah, the plot was fine.
The struggle plot. Yeah, the plot was okay. I didn't think it was something that a lot of people would be into because it's not like actiony. It was literally about a struggle process. So I feel like people who are interested in seeing like real life struggles would like this.
For me, I enjoyed it. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Whoa! Why you give it 6.5?
Why is that bad?
I thought you was gonna rate it higher, but anyway, let me hear.
I give it a 6.5 just because like I can see it not being very memorable after our initial watch. I'll probably forget about it.
You see those things, but it ain't like they stick with you. It ain't have the staining power. I give it actually a 7 though. From this, I did learn a lot, and for that I value it. But I agree with all of the, like, this ain't memorable at all. Like, we probably can forget this. Thank you guys so much for sticking on in. Subscribe to our channel if you feel like you can. And yeah, bye y'all.